Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inner Voice Show, heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan podcast. So great to be with you. I am Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I'm a psychotherapist and the author and the originator of the awareness integration theory. Our conversation is about what matters most in our life, our minds, our thoughts, feelings, actions, relationships, and the fulfillment in this beautiful journey of life. And today, we're going to talk about what's most important, which is retirement and money. Now, before we do that, it's for all your beautiful souls who have been asking me about my latest book. I want to share with you the one that just got published, Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, with two of my amazing co-authors, Dr. Nicole Jaffari and Dr. Eileen Manoukian, both of them an expert in human development, and Dr. Manoukian is an expert in early development. Now, Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, is what we go through infancy all the way to young adult, and every chapter takes one area and one age group and teaches you, whether you're a parent or a teacher, teaches you how to take this theory and intervention and use it as an educational model and help your children or the children you work with flourish in a whole different way, emotionally and cognitively. So definitely get that book. It's amazing. I'm sharing it with you because I just think it really works. Now, for all of you therapists and coaches who are interested in learning the awareness integration therapy, this book is for you. It's Clear the Past, Create a New Future, and Live a Fulfilled Life Now. This book, the Awareness Integration Therapy, allows you as a therapist or a coach to go through and learn step by step in how to utilize this type of theory and intervention for your clients. That's available for you, for all of you who want. Oh, by the way, we have created a certification program for therapists and coaches, especially because our app is coming up in a couple of months, Foojan app, which takes the awareness integration model and puts it in an app. So if you are a certified coach or a therapist, you're going to be part of the app so people can have an access to you and what you can do for them. Beautiful. I hope you get those two books or one of them as it fits for you and you enjoy it. Today, I'm excited to chat with Daniel Blue. He is a regular contributor to Forbes.com and is an owner of Quest Education, a company that helps entrepreneurs obtain capital for their companies, pay off high-interest debt, and make money tax-free using a self-directed retirement account to invest in alternate assets. With over 10 years of educating small business owners, Daniel has a knack for helping individuals get creative with their finances that lead to life-changing results. Under Daniel's leadership, Quest Education has reached the 7-figure mark 2 years in a row with 1,000 customers throughout the United States. Today, we're going to talk about his book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. It's an Amazon bestseller, and you can definitely learn more about Daniel Blue at danielblue.me and get his book, either in Amazon or his website. So I love to hear from you. So subscribe to my podcast, my YouTube channel, and connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com, awarenessintegration.com, any of the social medias that you are part of. For some of you who love working self-help by yourself at home, I want you to look at the Book Life Reset, which is the awareness integration path to create the life that you want. You can get that from Amazon. It'll take you through every step in different areas of your life where you could be fulfilled in your life. Without further ado, there's Daniel Blue. Hello, Daniel Blue.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm going to pick your brain today. Not only we're going to talk about your book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement and how to access your retirement account penalty and tax-free. So I'm just going to ask all these questions about how to handle retirement. I am 61 and obviously retirement is in front of me. And my fears started when I was about 45. Before 45, Daniel was like, who cares? I'm just making money, I'm spending money, and all is well. But then all the fear and anxiety started showing up as I got older. So I'm going to pick your brain throughout, and I think everybody who's with us is going to probably want to know all the good stuff that you can offer us. But before we do that, I want you to tell us about you and Quest Education.
Yeah, well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak here today. I want to give you some kudos. You look great for being 61 years old. I never would have guessed it. So you're doing something right in that space. And on the retirement account side of things, I got into this industry about 2009, 2010 is when the idea first came in my head. I was in the real estate space. And in the real estate space, I was hearing conversations about people using their retirement accounts to flip houses, to buy rental properties. And that concept seemed so foreign to me because I always associated 401ks and IRAs with the stock market. Had no idea that you could use your retirement account to invest into real estate. So I thought that concept was really, really unique. And it was a industry I wanted to get into at some point in time. And that some point in time came right around 2014. I jumped into what's called the self-directed retirement account space, and we'll dive deeper into that concept. But basically, if you've never heard of a self-directed retirement account, what it is it allows you to access your 401k, your IRA, penalty and tax-free, and use the money to do things like invest in your own business. Maybe you work a 9-to-5 job right now. You want to get out of the rat race. You could just use some money to start this dream business of yours. And you've got money in a retirement account, and the idea of accessing that money in your 401k or IRA, penalty and tax-free, to use that money to build your business, invest in your business, maybe that's something you want to move forward with. That's something that we help people with. So a lot of different ways you could use a self-directed retirement account to essentially use your money in different ways besides the stock market. I worked for a company for a number of years in this space. I was blessed to be surrounded by a lot of great people that taught me a ton. I was able to put in a lot of the work myself and accumulate the knowledge. And then about 4 years ago, I wanted to start my own business. I thought, let me be the captain of my own ship. Let me give this whole entrepreneurship a try. I didn't grow up being around entrepreneurs. I don't have this unique or cool story about being a business owner where, I was selling baseball cards in middle school, or, I was flipping some kind of product in high school. Being a business owner never crossed my mind. However, I'm someone that has a lot of confidence in myself, and I attribute that to my mom. I'm a self-proclaimed mama's boy. I grew up with my mom raising me after I was 12 years old. My dad moved to Mexico, and it was just my mom and I. So I saw her bust her butt, work her tail off, and she never wavered despite us going through some financial adversity. And she just always had a ton of confidence that we were going to make things through, and we did. And that confidence was instilled into me, I believe. And I think that's where a lot of my confidence came into play, where 4 years ago, I thought, let me just give this business ownership a try. And 4 years later, here we are. We've got over 1,000 customers in all 50 states. And I've got a team of about 13 employees. And our mission is to help people have a lot more control over their own money so they can do things to accomplish their financial goals sooner.
Beautiful. Kudos to your mom. Yay, yay. Woman power.
Yes.
In your book, your last name is Blue, but also your book is not this Blueprint. But you also put this BLUE as build, learn, utilize, and enjoy. And I really love that. So can you tell us each part of those? What do you mean by build? What do you mean by learning, utilizing, and enjoying? I know for me, as I said, you know, the anxiety showed up around 40 some. And then I started doing different things where, you know, investing in some real estate, it worked. In another, you know, commercial real estate, it didn't work. My money went away. And then, like you say, you know, I was never a game player in doing stock when all my friends were winning and losing. I'm a very sore loser. I can't really put my money somewhere when I think it's you know, as an option of losing. So then it was like, okay, what are some of the safe ways to do things? And then one of the things that I noticed was that I was like, I'm making money. Where is it going? And I was constantly just, you know, making it, and I watched it leave the bank account. So it was more like, okay, how can I do this without even noticing? Because I'm a spender. So I was like, how can I earn money and put it somewhere and not notice it? So I did that, and that worked. Where I didn't notice it, I didn't have it in my hand to spend it right away. But all of the products that are out there are scary because we don't know much, right? Somebody told me to put money in some, you know, insurance level that you could always go back, but the fees that were there at one point after spending, you know, about 8 years in it, not only the money didn't go up, but the fees were so much that I was actually losing money. Like if I held on to my own money and didn't put it anywhere, I was actually, you know, having more money. So then it's like there's so many products out there that you got to like read all the fine lines, and many of us are not into it, you know, to reading all the fine lines that are written. So there's always this fear of what am I doing? And like you said, sometimes you put it in a real estate, sometimes you put it in a stock market, it goes up, it goes down, and then um it's almost like if I'm not an expert, somehow I'm going to lose at this. So when I saw your book, and I was like, oh, good, you know, educate us about how to maneuver these things for some of us who are not savvy in this, and we're not going to get a PhD in this before we can actually put our money somewhere.
Yeah, and that was the whole reason, Dr. Foojan, why I wrote the book in the way I did, where I've read a lot of financial books over the years, and some of them are 300 pages, some of them are 200 pages, some of them are more boring than others. And I think financial books just in general can put you to sleep, right? So I wanted to put together a book that was just really easy to understand, simple to follow, wasn't too long, would entertain you. And then when you got done with the book, you can move forward with one or two strategies and start taking action. And that was the whole concept behind the book. I wanted it to be very, very simple to digest. So going back to the acronym, as you mentioned earlier, blueprint, I wanted to play off of BLUE, right? My last name is Blue, right? So the first letter B is build, right? And most of our customers are 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and they spend decades in the corporate environment where they're building up their retirement account, right? They're saving money, right? That's what our parents told us to do. Pay yourself first, put money in your retirement account, max out your 401k, save, build, build, build. Okay, great. So you took care of the build part. The second letter is L, which is leverage. That's what most people don't understand, is you can leverage a retirement account in a different way. Most people have a 401k and an IRA, and they just leave it in that vehicle, and they just don't ask questions. They let their financial advisor do what they do, and that's about it. And I'm not here to say that's the wrong way to do things, but like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people have money in a retirement account, an insurance product, and they have no idea how much they're paying in fees. They have no idea that they're paying 2-3% a year in fees when they're actually losing money. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Like, why should you have to pay a bunch of money in fees to someone that's managing your money, and then you're losing money along the way, right? That concept, probably doesn't make sense to, you listening to this right now, right? So leverage your retirement account. What I mean by that is you can actually take your 401k from your old job or your IRA, and you can convert that account into a different type of retirement account that just gives you more options. And we'll dive deeper what some of those options look like. So that's the L part. The U in blue is utilize. and utilizing your money in a different way, right? Maybe it's utilizing your retirement account money to fund your business. One of our favorite people that we've helped out over the years, she worked corporate for decades. She cut hair. She's getting tired of working corporate. She wanted to start an online business, and she needed about $20,000-$30,000 to get product, to get her online business up and going. She didn't want to borrow money from the bank, and she liked the idea of using some of the money in her retirement account to invest into her own business, to buy product for her online store. So we took her 401k or IRA she had at the time. We leveraged it. We converted it into what's called a self-directed retirement plan. And then from there, she was able to take out the $20,000 or $30,000 penalty and tax-free, and she used that money to invest in her own business, right? She utilized that money, her own money, to fund her own business, right? So whether it's utilizing your own money to fund your own business, or utilizing the money to, invest into real estate, or maybe, your friend's business, just outside of a stock, outside of a mutual fund, is where you can utilize your money, except that most people don't understand that this concept exists.
Is that like borrowing against your own money? Do you have to give it back to that account because you borrowed from it, or is it that you're taking it out and you use it and you don't have to put it back?
That's one way to do it. So let's dive deep and kind of nerd out. So let's just say someone has $100,000 in a 401k from their old job. They can technically move that money, if they qualify, into what's called a solo 401k. A solo 401k is a type of a self-directed retirement plan that is IRS approved. I talk about this account a lot in my book. Most of our customers have what's called the solo 401k. The solo 401k has a loan feature where you can take out 50% of the account value, or 50,000. You can take that money out penalty and tax free, and you could use the money however you want. You can use it to pay off your high interest rate credit card debt. You can use it to fund your business. There is a 5-year term on this. You've got 5 years to pay yourself back. And as long as you do that, you avoid a taxable event. There's zero penalties, zero taxes. And then there is an interest rate on this, even though you borrowed your own money. The interest rate is prime plus 1 to 2%. So prime is the interest rate the government sets. So right now, as we're doing this podcast, the interest rate on a solo 401k loan is going to be about 8%. But that 8% goes back to you. It goes back to your retirement account. So if someone had $100,000 in their solo 401k, let's just say they took out $30,000 out penalty and tax free, and they use that money to fund their own business, they could do that. And then the other 70,000 that's left in their solo 401k, they could use that money to invest into crypto or real estate or stocks or someone else's business, or they could buy gold, right? There's a lot of different ways that they can still use that money to invest somewhere. The loan feature is a way for you to get your hands on your retirement account money, penalty and tax free, to do things like pay off high interest rate credit card debt, fund your own business. Because one thing that a self-directed retirement account has that you have to be aware of is there's what's called a prohibited transaction. So you can't use your retirement account to own something that the IRS says that you can't. For example, you cannot use your retirement account to buy a collectible car, right? That's a prohibited transaction. However, you can use the loan feature, take money out of the plan, penalty and tax free, use that money to buy a car for $10,000, and maybe you fix it up and then you flip it for $20,000. And I'm just using an example here, but that's okay because there's no prohibited transaction there, because that transaction happened outside of the retirement account. The loan feature is when you take the cash outside of the plan. So, there's just some of those caveats that you have to be aware of, but that's where the loan feature comes in.
Question. If the loan feature is really cool, because instead of paying somebody else the interest rate, you pay yourself interest rate. You have to pay it back like any other loan group, that you have to pay it back in a term. Did I hear it accurately that if you're not taking a loan, but you're actually taking some money out of your own account, that is still tax-free and penalty-free?
Yeah, so a solo 401k is still going to be held by a custodian. And that custodian is going to be the company that holds your money, just like Fidelity holds your money or Edward Jones holds your 401k or IRA, right? So that solo 401k, that self-directed solo 401k, it can purchase an asset directly and hold that asset inside of the solo 401k without paying a penalty and tax event. You know,
That
maybe
becomes
there's
part of. So anything that you're purchasing, whether it's gold or, you know, stocks or anything else that you're doing, it actually becomes part of the asset. That's why you're not paying the taxes.
exactly because under the umbrella of the plan.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Everyone, you got to get this book. I'm telling you, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement by Daniel Blue, and how to access your retirement account penalty and tax free. Because Daniel, well, we did this where we actually took it and we didn't even know. And then we had to pay such a high tax, and it was shocking for us to do that. So it's really cool that you can't, obviously you can't do this with every single account you have. You could do this with the solo account, right?
Yeah, the solo 401k is a self-directed plan that, you know, can make this happen. If you have a 401k and it's through your current job, you're kind of handcuffed to that plan. There's not a whole lot you can do. Basically, money that can go into a solo 401k is a retirement account that's a 401k from an old job, a previous employer, or an IRA. You can convert into a solo 401k. And one thing I want to be transparent about is solo 401k, the word solo, just like it sounds, a solopreneur, right? So to qualify, you do have to be an entrepreneur that doesn't have any kind of W-2 employees in the picture full time. So you can have a team of 1099 contractors. You can have part-time W-2 employees, but full-time W-2 employees, now you're not solo, and now you're entering a different ball game, right? Now you've got to offer a 401k to your employees if you're going to set up a 401k, because basically whatever you do, you have to offer to your full-time W-2 employees, and that's just a whole nother conversation.
So anybody who also has small businesses, like professional businesses, such as what I do, like I'm a psychotherapist, I have a professional business, accountants. A lot of this group, they have their own businesses, but pretty much they might be their own only employee, or they have, like you said, some people who they contract with. So that can, it's okay for this group, right?
Yeah, for sure. And maybe you have a 9 to 5 job right now. And then on the side, you've got some kind of entrepreneur activity going on. Maybe you do content, social media management for a company, or, you know, you are a realtor and you get some 1099 income, right? There's just some kind of side hustle, some kind of entrepreneurship activity going on the outside. And that entrepreneurship activity doesn't have W-2 employees, then you do qualify for the solo 401k.
And there's places like Vanguard or Fidelity, or this type of groups already cover and offer solo?
Yeah, so the solo 401k is an account that both of those companies offer. I'm pretty sure Fidelity, they don't have a loan feature on the solo 401k. So keep that in mind. The loan feature might be something that you're really interested in. Think of a solo 401k as a vehicle that can be held in two different types of groups. Group A is Wall Street, right? So if you have a solo 401k with Group A, think Fidelity, Vanguard, Edward Jones, right? Wall Street. So if your solo 401k is held by those companies, then the type of investment options that you're going to have access to are Wall Street products, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. So that's group A. Group B is having your solo 401k held by a company that's in the self-directed retirement account space. So essentially
Self-directed.
off Wall Street, right? So having a solo 401k held by a self-directed custodian, a company that can actually administer alternative assets. So for example, if you wanted to have your solo 401k invest into precious metals or real estate or private lending, right? That's a popular product right now, where maybe you have some contacts in the real estate space that is putting together a big apartment complex in North Carolina, and you have an opportunity to put money towards that deal and be a part of the growth of that apartment complex. You know, maybe you're going to make money off of the rental income. If they refinance or they sell those units, you're going to participate in the profits. Think of like Grant Cardone, right? A lot of people probably know about Grant Cardone. You know, he's raising billions of dollars, millions of dollars, and having people invest alongside him. If you called your Fidelity IRA or 401k and you said, hey, I want to invest into this flip, this rental property, this apartment complex, they're going to look at you and be like, yeah, we can't help you, but here's the stock, right? So if you want to be able to use your retirement account, your solo 401k outside of the stock market, you need to have the solo 401k play in the self-directed retirement account space. And if you Google self-directed retirement accounts, IRS, you're going to see these accounts have been around for decades. They're IRS approved. It's not anything new. You just haven't heard about it, or you haven't heard about it in this way because Wall Street doesn't want you to know about this, right? Wall Street wants you to use your own money to invest into their products because that's how they make money.
Does it look like it's going to be a risky business? Because the reason I ask this, obviously anybody who's in stock is going to be in risky business. However, some of these companies set it up as, you do this kind of like general thing, and then, you put a percentage on like the high 500 indexes or like soft stuff where you don't have to do risky business. When you are taking your money off of those general aspects, which is, if the stock goes up, it's fine. But if it goes down, maybe the percentage you put on the bonds goes up. So when you're doing this kind of packaged concept with these companies, with your 401, it's low risk. Like you could choose to go to low risk. But if you're taking your money out and you're doing this on different angles and different products, is it the same thing? Are there areas that you could do low risk and you could do high risk?
Yeah, for sure. It just comes down to the deal itself, right? So number one, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not here to give financial advice. Everyone has their own unique situation. I think in general, the higher the return, the bigger the reward, or the higher the risk, right? If your risk is really, really, really low, you probably don't have a really high ceiling, right? So like bonds, they're not known to make a ton of money, but like you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of bonds that have low risk, right? So, it's just a general statement, and obviously there's an exception to what I just said. But I think about it in the sense of however you want to use the money. The solo 401k, the example I gave earlier, the lady using her retirement account money to fund her own business, her train of thought was, well, shoot, I've got my money invested in the stock market and I'm not in control of these companies. I have no idea or control how these companies perform. Why can't I use some of my own money to invest in my own business where I have a little bit more control? I have more say over my own business. But that's not to say being in business doesn't have risks, right? Every business has a lot of risks out there. So there's risks with all investments. And I think that's why it's really important to come in from a place of knowledge to know, what the risks are, what are the fees, how do you make money, how can you lose money, and where are you in your life, right? I was reading on Twitter the other day, and I try not to watch the news because I just think it's nothing but negativity out there. But on my feed, was something that popped up, and this lady said something along the lines of, this stock market crash right now, or not crash, but the stock market that's going down right now, that's really losing a lot of people's money. It's hurting me extra hard right now because I'm in my 60s and I lost a lot of money in 2008 and I had time to recover in 2008. I lost a lot of money in 2000, 2001 when the dot-com bubble happened. I had time to recover. I don't have as much time now. I'm in my 60s. And I think it's really easy to kind of forget the way all investments work, right? If you have $100,000 and you lose 50% of that, your 100,000 turns into 50,000. Now the next year, if it rebounds 50%, you don't go back to 100,000. 50% on 50K is 25,000. So now your 50K turns into 75,000. The point I'm making is a lot of people are relying on time to make back any kind of correction. So it comes down to where are you in your life, right? How old are you? What are your goals? What are your risk tolerance? What are you trying to accomplish, right? Some people like the stock market and they kind of set it and forget it. Other people want to get a little bit more creative and they want to use their money in a different way. So what I'm talking about and self-directing your funds and a solo 401k appeals to them. The solo 401k is not the one all be all solution. It's just a tool in the tool belt, and it's a tool that can be used depending on your situation. Just like insurance, I think there's a time and a place for insurance, just like real estate. So they're all tools. It's just a matter of when do you pull out that hammer and use that tool.
So for example, if you took some money from your solo account and put it on an investment of a house. And then since this is owned or this is part of the solo account, when the house sells or as it goes up and all of that, it still belongs to the same account. So if the house is sold, the money goes into that account because it was borrowed from, or not borrowed, but was taken from that, and it's almost like the account owns it.
Exactly. So if they bought the house for $100,000 and then they turn around and sell it for 150,000, that 150,000 goes back to the solo 401k, and there's no taxable event that's triggered.
Cool. Very cool. All right, everybody, you know where to get the book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement, How to Access Your Retirement Account Penalty and Tax-Free by Daniel Blue. Daniel, obviously, you know, at 61, 4 years from now, I can collect my Social Security. It's designed to only pretty much give you like 40% of income. And sometimes when, you know, every year the sheet of paper comes and tells you how much you're going to get if you retire at 60 or 65 or 70, or, and then you're looking at it and you're like, oh my God, like that's all. Like, how am I gonna, you know, how am I going to handle this? Because I think at one point it was Social Security, people had pensions, and not anymore. Like, people really have to supply a lot of their own retirement, and they can't just rely on the Social Security. What are your suggestions on you know, how to supplement that, how to proceed in creating that?
Yeah, I think number one, it's just really important that you know what you're working with, right? You know the money you have in your retirement account currently, what is it invested in, right? Is it mutual funds? Is it stocks? How much are you paying in fees, right? I think it's really important that you just start with the basics. I talk a lot about that in my book because Wall Street likes to hide a lot of those fees, because if most people were aware of the fees, they probably wouldn't have as much business as they have today. And they just rely on people being so busy raising their families, working their jobs, you know, just living their life, that taking a peek, lifting up the hood of their car, so to speak, is not something that most people are going to do, because it's just the last thing on their list of priorities, right? So I think it's really important, especially as you get older, that you know exactly where your money is invested in. You know, what kind of returns have you been averaging with your money? How much are you paying in fees? And where is your lifestyle going to be over the next 5-10 years, right? Where is the market right now? I think if you're 61 years old and you have all of your money invested into Tesla and Amazon and Apple, I love those companies, but if you just were to Google them to see their stock price, where they are now, they're still at a pretty high point, right? And that's why what we're seeing right now this year, the stock market is essentially, you know, taking a step back, which is natural because these stocks have just shot up since 2009, right? So, you know, someone that is maybe a little bit younger, they're okay taking a haircut. They're okay losing 10, 20, 30% on their portfolio. In fact, they're probably going to buy more stock because the stock is lower, and they're okay because they have another 10, 20, 30 years, you know, in the workforce. So they're okay. So again, it really comes down to, you know, your own personal situation. I'm a big proponent of having some kind of passive income, whether it's, you know, some kind of business that you have ownership in. Maybe you have some real estate, some rental income, you know, maybe you have some kind of passive income in e-commerce, just some kind of entrepreneurial activity. I'm biased, right? I own a company, so obviously I'm projecting my own bias on your show here, but I think it's really important that we think outside the box, because I know, 10, 20, 30 years ago, when our family members, our parents, when they retired, it was just a different era, right? And we're in 2022. It's a different time to look at your situation. The world has changed, and it's going to keep changing.
Yes, and I see a lot of people, as we talk about, it's the prices have gone so high that some people are just thinking, I'm gonna take my Social Security and some of the income that I've created and go live on other places, which are much, 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 lower, in other countries that are not as expensive. So you can see that there's a lot of high anxiety, especially with the baby boomers. Just, everybody's getting into that age, although people don't retire anymore around age 65. A lot of people are working beyond, even if they called retired, they're still creating, going out, creating different types of income. But still, I think it's still one of the highest levels of anxiety because of what you just said. There is time that you just don't have enough time nor energy to lose or to build. So anxiety is high among most of the people who don't know what to do and they have to rely on another system. What does Quest Education teach? You have online classes, and what does it teach to people? Who should be taking those classes and what are they going to learn?
Yeah, so people that are between the ages of 35 and 60, 65 years old is usually a sweet spot, because they've built an existing retirement account, right? So we teach these people how they can get creative with those retirement accounts, right? How they can access that money penalty and tax-free, how they can use that money in some of the ways that, we've talked about here on your show. Another big concept that I teach in my book is how to make money tax-free. There's a powerful part of the solo 401k. That's the Roth part of the solo 401k, where money you put into the Roth solo 401k, you're paying taxes on the seed. So maybe you put in $10,000 into a Roth solo 401k, and that 10,000 grows to $50,000 over a period of time. That 50,000 is now 100% tax free, right? So taxes is another part of the equation. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I wouldn't be on your show right now, respectfully, right? I'd be on an island somewhere. But if I were to guess, and I think if your audience were to guess, are taxes going to go up or are they going to go down over the next 3, 5, 10 years? They're probably going to go up. That's what happens when the government just prints a massive amount of money, right? And that's essentially what the government did during COVID. So if they're going to print that much money, there's just has to be a way for them to recoup some of the money that they've spent over the last few years, in a way that for the government, which is a business, for them to increase revenue is just to press a button that increases taxes, which affects you, which affects me, which affects all of us listening right now, right? That's why I love the Roth part, because the Roth part of a solo 401k or a Roth IRA, you're paying taxes now, you're paying taxes on that seed, but then that harvest is 100% tax-free. So even if the tax rates go up 10%, it doesn't affect your Roth bucket of money. So, those are some of the things that we teach as a company. Our bread and butter is getting on the phone with people. We don't bombard them with courses or videos and, hey, you do this on your own and you figure it out. No, we've got a team that gets people on the phone, that spends hours with them over a period of time, teaches them how to make all of this happen. And then for people that, want to work with us, that's where I mentioned earlier, we've got over 1,000 customers in all 50 states where, we help them with their accounts. So that's a big part of what we do. And then for people that, want to learn a little bit more about us first, again, they can purchase my book. My book is on Audible. They can get a hard copy. It's a Kindle available. And then I do have a course as well. That's video-based courses to teach you about some of the things more in depth than what I've talked about. But I think a lot of people want to hear a human on the phone, that can answer their questions and talk through their situation. And that's where, they can get on the phone with my team if they'd like.
Blueprint to your best retirement, how to access your retirement account, penalty and tax-free, by Daniel Blue. Daniel, anything we haven't said that you really want everybody to know?
They can get a lot of information at danielblue.me. That is my main website. My website has my book, it has my course. I've got my own podcast. It's called How Winners Win. Been doing that now over a year. And the mission on the podcast is to help people win in their personal lives, their financial lives, their entrepreneurial lives. So we're on Spotify and Apple and all the major platforms. So I know you'll definitely love the podcast. So I've got a lot of Forbes articles as well on my website. So danielblue.me has just a ton of free information for you to learn more. And then if I've got your wheels turning and you like the idea of doing some of the things that we've talked about, there's an option for you to jump on the phone with my team on my website as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Hey, Dr. Foojan, thank you so much for having me.
And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.